with the legendary Rasmo. Looking forward to this crazy interview that's going to happen now. I'm so excited what Rasmo is going to interrogate me on. Crazy Rasmo! Crazy Rasmo!
Come, where are you? Where's Saree Man? Are you Saree Man? Come on. Let's play. Saree Man, we need you. Saree Man, I've chased you all the way down to Jaipur just to interview you, Saree Man. Are you going to recline on that divan? God, he was going to hit me. Okay, recline. Oh, you look so lovely. Reclining. There. That is a...
You better be good at this.
I better be good at this? You're going to shoot me? Why?
Because if you don't capture my sense, well, then I will shoot you.
I will edit severely. I'm so sweated up because it was so hard to chase down Himanshu Verma,
Liar.
otherwise known as the luscious Saree Man of Jaipur. And today Evil O is coming to you direct from Arya Niwas Hotel in the heart of magnificent historical Jaipur. And I feel very honored to be talking to you, Saree Man.
Not at all. It's my pleasure to be interrogated by you.
I met Himanshu. Can I call you Himanshu?
Sure.
I met Himanshu at Palette Art Gallery years ago when I was having a show there, 2009. He walked up to me, became very friendly, and he was sort of a maven on the art scene at the time. He was a big socialite. And then he sort of withdrew from the art scene. You got sick of it for a while, I think.
Yeah, so I think I've been kind of like a shapeshifter in terms of what I've been doing with Red Earth. I've been moving from art to design and now slowly back to art in a way in the forthcoming years. But also what happened is that I became more of a reclusive person. So I'm not the socialite as you call me anymore. And I'm more of a private person. I like more one-to-one conversations.
So what is Red Earth? Red Earth has been around for a long time.
Right. So Red Earth has been around almost for 15, 16 years now.
Wow.
And it's a multidisciplinary organization, and we try to celebrate culture in India through small festivals that we do, which engage with visual art, design, textiles, heritage walks, and other kind of mediums which allow us to experience the richness.
Yeah, I
of
remember
culture.
you did all of those walks through historical Delhi,
Right.
especially when they were, I think they were renovating for the Commonwealth Games,
Sure.
and you were
The
trying to
flower
preserve the flower market,
Right.
and you were organizing the heritage
Sure.
walks.
Sure.
Yes,
Right.
I remember that.
Right.
But then what most people know Red Earth for, I think, is organizing the annual Monsoon Show.
Yes, so the Monsoon Festival has been one of the first projects of Red Earth that has continued till date. And a lot of the work that I do is inspired by the whole idea of how Indian art practice has always responded to seasons and festivals, and how you find a wealth of repertoire in art, music, poetry, literature, which is connected with seasons and festivals. But today in contemporary urban practice, we somehow have seemed to lost that link. It's slowly now coming back. But so the whole idea was to create this small festival which touches people's hearts and brings artists back to that whole urge of connecting to the season of painting.
I very much remember one of your posts on Facebook at one time. You said, "Dear artists, please stop reproducing your paintings as large fiberglass sculptures," or something like that, because it was like a fad and everybody was doing it. And it's like, yeah, get back to the roots of what are the crafts of India and what can you do with that? You know, it's so important. There's so much here to work with. So
Sure.
I love the Monsoon Show.
Yeah.
You've invited me to be part of it a couple of years, I know.
I know, it's you're one of the perennial favorites. And I remember that when maybe in 2009, you made this beautiful set of miniatures of the dried lakes of Udaipur and the Orientalist drinking distillery and then the crocodiles. Those three images are still stuck in my head. And then a couple of years ago, when we showed at the City Palace, you made a very different set of works which were playing with photography and painting and which were more humorous because it actually featured your persona.
Right. I look forward to the Monsoon Show, and Himanshu also does a calendar every year for the monsoon show. I don't think you've mentioned that, but there's always the monsoon calendar that you
Sure.
release.
We keep changing the theme of the calendar. So last year it was the Monsoon Calendar, and previously we worked together on a calendar art calendar. And this year also we'll be coming out with the art calendar, which is reflecting the diversity of the small but very interesting Red Earth collection.
Okay, that's very good. What came? Some water came? Okay. So let's start again. Tell me about the monsoon calendar that you release every year.
So every year we make a small calendar which is following both the Indian system of dating as well as the Gregorian system of dating, because you find a range of Indian calendars, but they are very often badly designed. So the whole idea is to just have a more minimal Indian calendar which doesn't have all the extra information that we are not used to accessing in terms of the minute astronomical calculation and astrological calculation. So, but it still gives you the Indian dates, which is important in all the unusual, lesser known Indian festivals.
It's all the Indian numerals.
Exactly.
Right.
And that is
They're Devanagari numerals.
What's that?
They're Devanagari numerals.
Right.
They're not Arabic
numerals, as well as the
Okay.
Roman system, of course, which we can't ignore today.
Right.
And then the theme of the calendar keeps changing. So last year it was monsoon, and this year it's going to be a mix of our eclectic art collection.
And I think many artists look forward to being included in this calendar.
Oh, you're very kind
because
to
it
say
does, well, it does circulate. You know,
Right.
I see throughout Delhi and places this
Sure.
calendar gets on display.
Right.
But anyway, we've talked too much about that. Let's talk about what we really want to talk about, which is sarees. So at some point, the
favorite
Himanshu became, well, first you were Genda Fool, right?
Right.
The marigold when you were doing
remember
the
all
flower,
my avatars.
when you were doing the flower market walks, trying to save the Delhi flower market from, was it finally demolished?
Well, it was demolished in the sense that it was denotified because they actually existed in a patch of land where there was no construction. But yes, they were denotified, and there was nothing to demolish because that was the beauty of the whole informal enterprise.
They were
that
just
they were
told to
just
move.
shoved off and not
How
allowed
sad.
to transact.
I mean, that's part of what gives urban
Exactly.
areas their vitality.
Exactly.
That's what makes them
And
exciting.
they were not really creating any nuisance for anyone, but it was just this whole move of organizing the city in a very formal way, which is very alien, which was totally insensitive to what the city needed at that point.
So you went from Himanshu Verma to Genda Fool.
Right.
Can I give your alternative name to Genda Fool?
Gendapool, yeah. Some people still know.
Gunda Fool, I heard also.
Gondapool, yeah.
Gunda Fool, I also
So,
heard
because
also.
in Chhattisgarhi, Genda is called Gonda.
Ah,
So
okay.
for a while there was also Gondapool, and it puzzled a lot of people.
And anyway, then all of a sudden you became Saree Man, and Saree Man was really stuck. And you did a beautiful series of self-portraits and saris, which actually I was very envious and jealous of. I thought those were gorgeous photographs. And I don't know, who was the photographer? You weren't doing photographs.
So I collaborated with Parikshit Pal, a very dear friend of mine, who has been guiding my performance forays a lot, and he provided the technical wherewithal and also a lot of other guidance. So he was very kind to direct me. They were self-directed photographs in a way, but he really sat me through the whole process, and he finally shot the work.
And did you have a makeup artist for this too? They
For
seemed
that
really
one,
professional.
for that one, we didn't really have a makeup artist because I wanted a more traditional kind of look, which most makeup artists don't recreate. But for other performance bits that we've done, I've worked.
But
with
that caught a lot of attention, and I think one person's attention you caught was, I'm forgetting her name, the woman in Singapore, who's very into saris also. What's her name? I can't remember her name right now. It'll come to me. But anyway, I noticed on Facebook you made a big connection with this whole interest in saris.
Sure.
But anyway, suddenly you were modeling saris on the catwalk for fashion shows.
Yeah,
and
that's a
everything
recent
else.
development.
That's a recent development?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So I was quote unquote the showstopper for Sutash, a Delhi-based brand.
Okay.
And Sutash does very exciting work. Their work is inspired by, in this case, this collection was inspired by vintage European floral embroideries. but then the way they present their work is very futuristic. So it's like nostalgia mixed with futurism, and Gorika from Sutash connected, and it was a dream come true to walk for her, and it was a great.
And you
photo.
also sell sarees, right?
Right. So we organize a Saree Festival.
Well, tell me about the Saree Festival then.
The Saree Festival was started in 2015, where the whole idea was now there's a profusion of saree shows, and I'm feeling a bit lost, honestly, in terms of sarees have become so mainstream now that I continue to wear them and hold them very dear, but I don't want to make a big noise about sarees as everyone is doing today, and so that's what I'm saying.
Because you started at a time where everybody was sort of moving into more Western outfits.
Exactly. So it was in a way, except if you ignore certain other exhibitions which celebrated the sari, like the Sarees of India of Crafts Council, there was no other sari show at that point. And also at that point there was a strict hierarchy between sari styles, which is now broken. So there was always this notion that in the handloom sphere, that the hand-woven sari is better than anything else. In the fashion context at that point, it was always about restructuring the drape or adding something to it, experimenting with the sari. So handloom sari worn in the traditional style was not good enough to be presented in the ramp, and in some ways it still is kind of a state thing to do today. And then yet another vocabulary of the sari styles that I wanted to explore was the vocabulary of print, which hasn't really caught on. So the whole idea with print is that if you look at the printed sari, I'm talking more about digital print, not so much about
I was going
print.
to say wood block print or whatever you're talking about.
Not so much.
Digital
Yeah,
print.
I was more
Okay.
talking about digital print, because that's a new arena altogether, which is not regional. And if you look at the possibilities inherent in that style of the sari, I feel that nobody till date, even in the last 5 years, nobody has harnessed it. So there's Satyapal, who's the granddaddy of the printed sari, but there's no second rung of famous print designers who work with digital print. And there's been sporadic incidents.
So why did you shift from Delhi to Jaipur? Was it to be closer to artisans or?
Actually, it was to be close to Govind Dev Ji, I'm a Vaishnav, I follow Krishna.
Okay.
And Delhi for the longest time was becoming very culturally, spiritually stagnant for me. Plus, the pollution was getting to me.
The traffic jam.
Exactly.
That's
So
what
it
drives me
just
crazy,
was,
the traffic jam.
for the longest time I was miserable and I wanted to move away, but I couldn't. And then one fine day, I just came on a whim. I mean, it was I've had a long relationship with Jaipur. So whenever I would come, I would plan to come for 2 days and not go back for a week. And when I would go back, I would literally be in tears that I was going back to
Sometimes
Delhi.
people ask me what I love about Udaipur, and they expect me right away to say the lakes, and instead I say no traffic jam.
Well, yeah, that used to be true of Jaipur, but now Jaipur is suddenly getting a lot of traffic jams.
Right.
But essentially, I wanted to be close to Govind Dev Ji, and his presence and energy is phenomenal. Plus, the whole way the city is built is really channelizing energy in a very beautiful way.
So I have a question. So, okay, do you wear saris every day pretty much now?
Well, not really every day, and as I said, I'm prone not to take any pressure to wear a sari every day to live up to this image of the Saree Man. But I need to relate to a sari even if it's for a few moments every day. So even if I'm not wearing a sari, I could be wearing a dhoti at home or even.
But you tend to wear saris for formal occasions.
Not really.
No,
I
really?
mean,
No,
sometimes I'm just sitting in a sari at home.
Sometimes you're just a
Yeah,
Himanshu.
and that's just the idea, because that's what most women do. They wear saris.
Because
for
I've seen you
formal
wearing saris at art openings and things once
Right.
in a while, so that's
Yeah.
why I asked.
It started like that, Vasu. That's when I started using the sari as a device to question these ideas of cross-dressing in a very art kind of environment. But then gradually, and more so, as I said, now everyone is wearing saris and posting on social media about the fact that I wore this sari today and there's a story behind it. I'm really not interested in that. I just want to wear my sari, enjoy it, and it's very personal.
It should just be a part of normal life.
Exactly, and that's what we fight when we do the festival, because you constantly get this thing, oh, who wears saris anymore? And it's so much work to wear a sari. It's too hot to wear a sari. It's too cold to wear a sari. And all those excuses of not wearing a sari are illogical and ill-founded. So really, I think it's just the most beautiful garment you can wear.
I have a question, and maybe this is too personal, but like the other day I made a rant, just a couple days ago actually, I made a rant on Facebook about the fashionably non-binary people. How do you identify? Do you identify as non-binary or don't
Absolutely, yeah.
You do identify as non-binary?
Yes,
Okay.
so I mean, I think that can be defined in many ways. So you can call it androgyny or non-binary. But I've also been studying Indian masculinity, and as you say, this whole binary structure of masculinity is a very colonial intervention.
Right.
And if you study pre-colonial masculinities, where you're talking about classical Hindu masculinity, or even quote unquote what styles of masculinity were extant when the Islamic Sultanate was ruling, then there wasn't such a sharp distinction between what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. But suddenly, with the coming in of the British, there's a very sharp divide sartorially between what men wear.
So your non-binary identity is very important to you.
Exactly.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm little like, because it's become to me such a fashionable thing in the West right now, I question its sincerity. And in my rant, I said that, you know, when I was in college and David Bowie and Queen were ruling the airwaves, everybody was a bisexual, you know, because it was just fashionable to be bisexual. And these days it seems like everybody is non-binary. And it's not that there's anything wrong with thinking of yourself as non-binary, but sometimes I think people are doing it just because it's a fad, which I don't think is a good thing.
Well, I think there's two ways of looking at that. One is that there's so many ways of being non-binary. So I'm non-binary in my sari. There's a whole movement of gender-neutral fashion, which is more haute couture, more avant-garde than the sari, where people are looking at cuts that are androgynous, unisexual. But more than that, I think what you're saying about it being a fad possibly is just what gets visibility. But when you look at the mainstream, and especially in Rajasthan, where there's a big patriarchal and masculinity problem, there is no non-binary.
There's so much machismo.
Yeah, exactly. And we're struggling with it all the time. People have weird notions of masculinity, and they're very insecure. So unfortunately, I think that it is not.
And I
such
think
a
a lot of these activist movements are very particular to countries. I have a friend, Saurabh Tak, and he always says, like, I'm a strong feminist in India because feminism is so needed here. But when he goes to the West, he's not a feminist at all because he thinks feminism is just taken over.
Sure.
You know, and I see that the same way. And it's really hard for me with my own identity now because I tend to be the same way. Some of these activist movements, I think, yeah, they're needed over here, but I don't know if they're so much needed in San Francisco anymore.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, but anyway.
But we need that non-binary movement in Rajasthan for sure.
So let's get back to our saris. So is there anything else you'd like to say about saris or Red Earth? Or?
So I think with saris, Vasu, it's really like an amazing romance because you know it's never ending, and there's so much to study. There's the infinite types of saris that you have, and I think saris are the most undervalued form of art, saris and textiles, because they are markers of cultural identity, but they're also markers of our aesthetic makeup.
You and Mayank Monsoon must get along very well together,
Absolutely.
right?
He's a very dear friend.
Right.
So I think like it's a life's work studying the beauty that is possible through the sari. And then also there's this whole, there's a separate set of relationships with draping styles and how you can grow with the sari, how you can evolve with it, and how it is a very personal garment in terms of...
Would you say that the sari was not given its due on a craft level simply because it was associated with women and not with men?
No, I don't
Was it a
think
gender
so.
bias?
No, probably not. I think it's just that we haven't woken up to the fact that this is real art, and even today, of course, women who wear it understand it. But if you compare the prices that a weaver gets vis-a-vis what an artist gets, I mean, so those are complicated issues, but I'm just trying to say that it's like nothing short of art, the kind of.
Well, when you look at the old Benares weavers' colonies, which I think were mostly Muslim, if I
Right.
remember my history
Sure,
right,
sure.
and they've dwindled and dwindled,
Right.
because now most everything is done, they're manufactured. There's very few people hand weaving anymore,
Right.
which is really sad. But I also understand because it takes so long. I have a good Kashmiri friend here in Jaipur that I've known since 1993, believe it or not. And he just loaned me this beautiful, beautiful shawl that I'm wearing to an event I'm going to at Rumball Palace on Saturday night. But he said the stitching in it took a year. It took a year for the women to do all of this embroidery work on it. And I believe it because when you look at it, it's so detailed. It's one of those that's perfect front and back. There's no loose threads.
Yeah.
There's no loose ends. It's just an exquisite piece. I'm actually afraid to wear it because he says I don't have to buy this. I just need to return it to him. This is my friend Akib at Aki International. He's a very good friend. He's a good guy. I've known him for years. He's dealing with very high-end fabrics now, especially woven, like real pashmina shawls with embroidery work and stuff. He's got high-end clients in California and Europe and all this. And people pay lakhs and lakhs and lakhs for these things.
Sure.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, sorry if I sound
Well,
like
that's
I'm giving
like
up.
a luxury. I mean, that's when you talk about this. I mean, that's one segment of antique textiles or luxury textiles. But with sarees, of course, there can be sarees for lakhs, like patolas can sell for lakhs. But yet, even just a regular saree like this saree, I'm sure the weaver doesn't get what he deserves for this.
No,
you
of
know?
course not.
Yeah. So, which is sad. So.
So we're probably going to our 20-minute mark. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
About sarees?
Anything. It's your turn. You can ask me a question if you wish, or you can say something else about yourself.
Oh.
What would you like?
So
Or
I'd
can
rather
chase
not
you
talk
around
about
the room
myself.
some more.
So it's time for me to question Vasco. The tables have turned now.
No.
So Vasco, you started as a photographer,
Yes.
and you over the years that you've now lived in India and made India your home, you've played with so many mediums, and I just want to understand this a little more because I think there's always constantly an interplay of photography and painting. But in some of your current works, that is becoming more and more complex and multi-layered because you, in some of your photographs, stage photographs, you're actually posing against a painted backdrop, and so then there is a painting in the photograph, and then that photograph is again painted over with foil and other details or hand-painted, hand-colored. So just talk about that fascinating.
Well, no, I'll
negotiation.
just touch on that real briefly because this is your interview, not mine. But basically, the miniatures started as a little side series to the photography. I'm basically a photographer at heart. But the miniatures took off and everybody loved them, so we started doing more and more, and then they became parallel series moving together. But what people didn't realize is they relate to each other because the little man with the camera in the miniatures, well, those hand-colored photographs are supposed to be the photographs that he's taking. And many times you can actually see in the backdrops of the photographs are taken directly from some of the miniatures. So, there's a connection there. But people don't realize that, but that's partially my fault, the gallery's fault, because we've exhibited them together so few times.
Right.
So now our next project is we plan to do a big book which we're going to call Karkhana.
Wow.
And it's going to include the miniatures and the photographs together. And anyway, the photographs you're talking about, which was the series The Observationist in a Stolen Garden, or The Observationist at Leisure in a Stolen Garden, I purposely did that series inserting myself, my physical self, into the photo and becoming the miniature character again, because I wanted to draw the attention to the fact that yes, he is me, and it is like, here's the photographer. And so they're much more heavily painted than the normal series, So, you know, Rakesh comes in, the miniaturist, and works on them. So they have a combination of Rajesh's hand tinting and Rakesh's miniature work, and combined they make a statement.
Stunning.
So I think we should end this.
Yay.
Thank you, Himanshu,
Jai
for
Saree.
being with us.
Happy to be talking to you.
Yeah,
as
nice to
always.
talk to you again. It's been a long time to see you. Thank you so much. Talk again soon.
Sure.
This is Waswo Xwaswo, Evil O, signing off from Arya Niwas in
Jai Saree.
Jaipur with Saree Man.